Good morning, Erica. I see that you're online. We're waiting for a few more people to attend, but as usual with these webinars, we'll be starting on time at 10 a.m. Just for everyone's benefit, this will be recorded, so you can share it with your team members. Well, good morning, everybody. It's 10 a.m. and so we'll kick off this webinar on time. We've got 30 minutes for the session. And I'd just like to kick off by saying this session is another monthly webinar from Kinetics, and this particular topic is avoiding the IT travel woes. And I'm probably quite well qualified to being needing to avoid the IT travel woes because I do a lot of business travel with Kinetics, and fortunately I have by my side most of the time Bill Lurnham, who's our CTO. So whenever I'm going to go and do something stupid, he's usually there beside me to make sure that I don't make too much of a mess of things. But when you're considering traveling, all of the things that come to mind, you're usually rushing to the airport, you're in a strange environment, you're thinking about your passport, you're thinking about all of your travels, next connections, and in many situations you place yourself in a situation that's outside the normal things that you do. But what this webinar is about is making sure that everyone understands the things that they need to do, they need to be aware of when traveling, so that you actually don't find yourself in a risky situation in a time of pressure. So that's something to consider when going through this webinar with Bill today. Why don't we just quickly go over the agenda, Bill? And from that perspective, it's my absolute pleasure to introduce Bill Lurnham, who's our CTO. He's an absolute expert in all things cybersecurity, so he's here to present with us today. He's giggling, but it's absolutely true. Avoiding the IT travel woes is the topic. As usual, I've got your viewing microphones muted. But please feel free to ask any questions in the Q&A session at the end, or for that matter, raise it in the chat within the Teams meeting. And we'll be recording this, as I mentioned earlier. There'll be a video that you can share with your teams, and also a copy of this presentation for your reference. So without further ado, I'll hand over to Bill to kick things off.
All right, thank you, Matt. Look, so particularly difficult subject to talk to, because we all travel all the time, and I'm going, what extra value can I bring along to this? So hopefully at the end, you'll all at least get maybe one takeaway. So starting off with myself, I say, to me, the first hassle I get, the first problem I get when I travel is stress. Now, it's only a small amount of stress, but it's there every time I go to travel, because time and again, I've left something at home. So my first tip is actually being prepared. And I'll tell you what I do. First of all, when I travel, I want to take with me a travel adapter. So obviously, if I'm going to Australia, I don't need a little power adapter for there, but anywhere else I'm taking something. I want to take a phone charger. I want to take my laptop charger. I want a charger cable for my phone, a USB one. And my first tip there is you can get these ones that are called data blockers. So if you're not aware, when you plug a USB cable into a USB charging port at an airport, they can actually stick a little chip in there that's going to access your phone or your laptop or whatever. So you get these cables that don't transfer data. So I always carry one of those with me. I carry a pair of actually, so normally I have plenty of them because you take them off the Air New Zealand flights, the little free headphones. So it tells you I sit at the back of the plane with the with the little the old fashioned plug.
I'm
That's
happy
real.
to keep you company though, Bill.
Yeah, we have this thing in kinetics. It's a very fair policy. Your position on the plane, the longer your legs, the further you are up the plane. Uh, so those little headphones are really important to me because it means I'm not having to. I also carry my Bluetooth headphones, but of course they can go flat. And if I'm having to answer a call in a hurry, most likely time I'm going to drop them, to always have one of those ones where I can just plug it into my phone and typically I have a little USB charger onto it, so I can have a private phone call at any point in time, or plug into my laptop if I need to join something in. And the last thing that I take there, all these I keep together in one place at home. And the last thing that I have, I'm going to share this highly technical device, and it changed my world. Well, one of these. It's just a little carry case, and it's perfect because I can fit into it my phone charger, my data cable, my little headphones. So those things that I need all the time means they're all together in one place in my bag. So if I need to do a phone call, I can find it really quickly in my carry-on bag. The other thing that I found really useful about this is, notice I got a blue one. Most cables are either black or white. And when you put them down, same with your phone chargers, you put them down in a hotel room when you're packing. It's amazing how often you leave them behind. They disappear into the sheets or on the furniture. With this, because I'm putting everything back into this, I've got that final check. Since I started carrying this, I can always see it. I always going to put it in my bag. I no longer get to the next hotel and go, oh, where's my USB charger? So that's probably my best tip there for traveling, and the extra laptop power supply. I have one all the time in my bag because I stress about the fact, and I've done this. I'll grab my laptop, race home. I got to go out on a flight. I get home, and go, I've left my laptop charger in the office. Okay, so try and reduce that stress before I leave. The other thing I do is if I know my password is coming up to be changed, I don't leave it to the last moment. We certainly here internally on our servers, we have a little thing that'll email me. I think it's 2 weeks before it's due to change, a week before it's due to change, and every day for a couple of days beforehand. I will change it in advance. Then everything's rebooted, everything's tested. I don't have any problems. If I'm going away and I know it's about the second or third week of the month, I'm going to update my mobile phone and my laptops before I leave. Nothing worse than being in an airport. I need to do something urgently. Updates are installing. I'm going to test remote connectivity before I leave as well. And the last thing is, of course, I do make sure that my IT support team, so the guys here, they know when I'm going, where I'm going, and when I'm going to come back. Most of us by now have some sort of travel restriction on, letting the team know so that I don't land somewhere and then have to be texting or calling somebody at 1 a.m. in the morning going, I can't get in. Very vital. Then I'm off. And I mean, this is, I know, rather basic stuff, but when you're traveling, it is so easy to get caught out. First of all, physical device security. We're so lax here in New Zealand. Go into a cafe, phones all over the place, people chatting away, go to the toilet, leave our phone on the table. Um, the rest of the world isn't quite so forgiving as us. I'm pleased to say I think we must do a really good job, and by that I mean all of us, all our clients, because it is relatively rare for us to hear of somebody traveling and they're having their device stolen. But it does happen. I think probably more often than not, they're probably lost rather than stolen. But it happens. So that also means making sure that your devices are encrypted. A little tip for if you're wandering around, you've got your phone. We're all worried, of course, because we have so much data on our phone these days, so much important stuff. Um, I don't use flight mode, but I will go in, and when I'm walking around in a particularly a non APAC country, I'm going to turn off Bluetooth and Wi-Fi on my phone. I don't need those when I'm walking around during the day, but they are access points into my phone. As I've already mentioned, I avoid USB charging ports wherever. I prefer to use my little charger, but I carry that data blocking cable in case I do need to do those. And sometimes you just have no choice. You know, you're in an airport, all the power plugs are taken. There's only the USB charging stations that are left, or in cafes. And another little thing that can be useful is to have a travel phone. So this is not something that I would take if I'm going off on a short business trip, but if I'm perhaps having a bit of a holiday afterwards and I'm off somewhere a little bit more dodgy, you know, from the usual places. So let's say maybe Adelaide, joke there. Uh, I will take with me a travel phone. So that is a spare phone from here. I'll get an eSIM on it over there. It does not have my email on it. I will transfer any e-tickets to it that I need, but I'm going to use that to walk around. I can still text from it. I can still phone from it, but that's going to do me for my Google Maps. Allows me to take photos, allows me to go to somebody, here, can you take a photo of me? And if they run away, well, actually, I'm not so worried about losing that. Oh, this is the one that I really hate or love. Public Wi-Fi, friend or foe. Hey, when we're traveling, we couldn't survive without Wi-Fi. Yeah, I mean, these days phone coverage is really good. You uh, get fast internet almost everywhere you go. Um, most places you can get your current plan is going to cover that for you, but still, it's never quite as fast as Wi-Fi. And everybody says don't use public Wi-Fi. So when can you and when shouldn't you? Really are the big questions here. So I have to say you're never safe anywhere, first of all, but there are degrees of safety. If I'm in a hotel and I need to put in some information, such as my room number and my last name, the odds are that that Wi-Fi is going to be more secure than a public Wi-Fi where I don't need to put in any information. And if the information they are asking you is just your email address, that is not the same as some information they already know, such as the combination of my room number and my last name. Having said that, I guess I could easily set up a fake Wi-Fi and say, put in your room number and last name, and I don't care what you put in, I'm going to go, yeah, you're right, and let you in. I'm going to assume you know how to spell your name, which, just as an aside, I don't know how to spell my name. I got my e-visa to the US once, and I think it was 2 weeks before I was due to leave. For some reason, I looked at it and realized I'd spelt my own first name wrong. um,
Traps for young players, Bill.
that's right. Uh, William, of course, I was Will I Am, but I didn't have the second Will. I was just Will Am. So the hotel, yes. The free Wi-Fi, no. Cafe free Wi-Fi, no. Okay. And when you are connecting to Wi-Fi, it's going to prompt you, do you want your device to be discoverable? Always that is a big no. Okay. VPN protection, using VPN protection over Wi-Fi. Yeah, that's really good. Okay. Your problem is I've got my laptop, I've started up, I've turned it on, I got to connect to the Wi-Fi, then I've got to create my VPN. The moment I connect to the Wi-Fi, all those bits and pieces on my laptop are going to start to authenticate. They're going to go, there's a connection there. I'm going to log into 365. All this is going to happen in the background. So that VPN as an extra sense of security, if you're using a public Wi-Fi, sorry, it's not really there. Now, the good news is there are some solutions coming, and I possibly mentioned this at another webinar maybe 6 months ago. There's a concept, you might have heard of products, Zscaler, Netscope, always on VPN, VPN anywhere. There's an idea that whenever you turn your device on, even before you log on, it's going to connect to a secure VPN network. So it doesn't matter where I am. If I'm in Taiwan, I turn my laptop on. I haven't even logged on. Or the moment I do connect to anything, so say I've plugged into a network port, it's immediately going to try and create, it's going to tunnel all my data down this always on VPN. That technology has been around for a while. It's the reliable stuff is very enterprise, very corporate, very complex, very expensive. About 6 months ago, some suppliers told me we have got the MSP, the smaller enterprise version of this that is coming, and they have released it. They have solved all the problems except for the very expensive. But they were just first to the market. I now see other products coming in. So this idea that in future you'll go home, doesn't matter where you go, you're going to be on your home network, you're going to be traveling, all your data will be going through a secure channel and then appearing in New Zealand rather than coming from overseas. And will only allow you to work because actually you have that proof that that is me logging in on my device. So that's kind of the future of travel there. The other thing, of course, you can do to be safe is tethering to your phone. So I've got my data on my phone. I personally not a big fan of that, simply because I know the stress it puts on my phones. They always run hot, and I'm just afraid that I'm going to destroy my phone when I'm traveling, which would be the worst possible thing I could do. Okay. Big thing to remember, are you the target or are you the bait? When you're traveling, we're all aware of the risks that we're going to try and be scammed. And gosh, and this really does, we know this happens. Don't go handing out personal information. Um, you know, be suspicious of anyone claiming to be an IT professional. Be suspicious of emails that are coming in. The odds are when you travel, the information about you that you are traveling is going to be out there in the public domain somewhere, even if that's just because you have actually gone and connected to a Wi-Fi somewhere, and people may be able to identify your device. I'm pretty sure in the past that I've known people who every time they travel, their scam, the amount of scam emails they get goes up, and I'm positive they must be using a travel app somewhere to plan their work, and somebody else has their travel, and somebody else has access to it. What we can forget is that the opposite happens as well. When you travel, the people that are left behind are at a higher risk of being scammed for exactly the same reasons that you are. There's a time lag. You're in a different time zone. You're using different forms of communication. The fact that you are traveling, as I said, could very well be public knowledge. So the chances that your workmates are going to be prospected, be attempt at business email compromise based on the fact that you're traveling, that goes up. So it is important that people do know you're traveling, and that people still follow process, that they don't go, you're traveling, therefore rather than do the normal thing where to approve this I would give you a phone call, I'm going to send you an email. Should still follow process.
Hey, Bill, we've just got a question from James about the cables that you were talking
Yep.
about before. Do most standard charging cables that come with modern mobiles adhere to data blocking?
No, they don't. When you get your phone, the cable you get will be a data cable, because the expectation is often that you're going to use that cable to transfer data from your old phone. There was a point in time when if you went into a store and you looked at cables, the cheaper ones were probably going to be power only, not data. And the more expensive ones were data only ones. I suspect over time, more and more people have been asking for data cables. Now you might find you're paying a premium to not have it transfer data.
Mm.
And they no longer call them charger uh, power cables. They do tend to use that word, I think, data blocking cable, which they don't
Okay.
block anything. It just means they haven't got that feature in there.
Hope that
Uh,
helps, James.
yeah, they're easy enough to find on most websites and in most shops. Now, the other thing is when you travel, it is too late to do some things. They need to be in place beforehand. Uh, and this is going to be the list that almost in any securities conversation is going to come up. And that's because really we do have to do these things. And it starts with passwords, unique passwords, complex passwords, having passwords for every account. Don't reuse passwords. I was talking yesterday with one of our security clients. They just had their yearly security presentation from somebody at Kinetics who went in there, Reese, I think it was, gave them a presentation, spoke about passwords and how easy they were to hack and things like this. And apparently somebody from their company goes, oh gosh, yeah, my cat's name is Summer and all my passwords are based on Summer. So, that's not hard for a hacker to figure out. Um, they will steal a password from somewhere that you think is less important, so security is less on it. So your travel planning app, TripAdvisor or somewhere like that. And they notice that there's a nice defined word in there and it's got some characters on either end. So, okay, if I'm going to try and hack your account, I don't need to go through the zillions of combinations of possible characters. I'm going to work on you using that word everywhere and you just changing those characters on the end. And that can take the time to hack a password down from 6 months to 6 minutes. Making sure your phone and your laptop are encrypted should they be stolen or lost. Now, hopefully your IT policies enforce these things. But it's very easy, I know, for people to go, oh, I went and bought myself my own laptop and I've set that up, or I've got my own phone and I'm using that, and have not actually implemented those policies. Making sure you have a screen timeout on mobiles and laptops. Once again, your IT policy should be enforcing that. But the world is full of, and probably people who travel the most would be the biggest offenders here, of people who go, oh, but that slows me down when I'm trying to work. No, I don't want to enter a password on my phone if I haven't used it for more than 30 seconds. Once it's gone, it's too late. Can't do anything about that. PIN or biometric on the phone. MFA on every account. Uh, we can't we can enforce MFA on and do on 365 and places like this, but we all use so many applications. Um, your banks these days should be enforcing it, but TripAdvisor doesn't enforce it. Um, Plenty of those, I don't think, I don't know if Facebook or any of those, a lot of them don't enforce it. A lot of them never used to have it. And if you've been using some online application for a long time, they may very well have added MFA and you don't even know about it. You do need to go back and put an MFA on every account you have. Back up your data. And that device gets lost or stolen and you're traveling, I mean, it's no different from it happening when you're here in when you're here in New Zealand. It's too late to do something about that afterwards. And we offer a pretty inexpensive backup solution for laptops and desktops, and that just has a look and goes, that's a Word doc, that's a PowerPoint, that's an Excel, um, that's a PDF. Those things are important. It just backs those up for you, keeps them for 30 days, does it twice a day. Um, you know, when stuff gets lost, that is so valuable. Use EDR. Um, I'd say within our client base, we still have way too many customers that are going, but antivirus has worked for me for 20 years. Why should I change? And honestly, I go, yeah, don't drive a 20-year-old car and think that it's as safe as a modern car. You do need to be moving to EDR, and yes, there is a cost to it. And looking at adding an MDR, so that is a service, a SOC type service that is watching devices, watching your logins, your 365 login, 24/7, 365 days a year. We were just sharing some information earlier today. We have a client on this service, um, suspicious activity on a 365 account happening over the weekend, people stepping in straight away, locking that account, alerting us to the fact that this has gone on. In that particular case, I don't know whether it was an actual breach, an attack, or maybe it was just suspicious behavior that took it past the level where these people felt they needed to act. But in the end, your online presence is there 24/7, even when you are sleeping. And I say it's too late to deal with these things once you have left home.
And
Okay.
particularly relevant, Bill, for that SOC approach or managed MDR service, because when you're traveling around the world, you're in different geographies and different time zones, and to have that protection wherever you are is so
Yeah.
important.
Look, and there is absolutely no doubt that attacks on people increase when they travel. We just see it all the time. Andrew Hunt here used to be a classic. It was like every time he left to go to the US, I think he would touch down in the US, and within an hour or two, our CFO would start to get phishing emails
Yeah,
pretending to be Andrew.
yeah,
Um,
good point. Hey, Bill. Look, thank you for that. You've covered some really pertinent information. As I said at the start of the session, a lot of the time when you're traveling, you're outside your normal comfort zone, and it's about being prepared for these things. So the advice you've given around the public Wi-Fi's, looking after your physical devices from theft, your password security, your compliance to your own company policies, and making sure that things are secure, and then sort of protection from insecure email traffic and the likes. These are all really sound things that you do when you're in your office or when you're working in the country, but you just have to double down for those things when you're traveling. Is that a fair assumption?
Yep. Your risk factor goes through the roof,
Yeah.
right? And if you're not, if you're not behaving well at home, I don't think that's going to improve when you travel. Uh, I will say, because I know we got just a minute or so. So there was a classic hack story from a couple of years ago. I've probably shared it before, um, which is literally a businessman who arrives in, I think it was Shanghai or somewhere like that, books into his hotel, goes out for dinner, has a few drinks, is coming back, and honestly, this sounds like I'm making it up. This is real. Walks back into the Marriott hotel. I think it was a Marriott from memory where he was. Goes up to the lifts. Card doesn't work. Can't go up in the lift. Oh, I can't get up in the lift. They go, oh, so we need to check your. Can you please just confirm your login? Here's a screen. Sit down. Put in your details, etc. And they puts in some details, and they go, oh no, you're not at this Marriott, you're at the Marriott around the corner. So off he goes to his correct hotel, goes in the room, gets up the next morning, and I believe lost several $1 million was taken.
Wow.
Because it wasn't even a real hotel. It was a fake hotel front they set up just to track people when they
Scary.
tracked people who had been drinking. I mean,
Yeah. Bill, we've got a couple of questions in the Q&A. Miranda was asking, what about when you've logged into Wi-Fi on one device, and when you pick up a second device, you get the opportunity to share the password from the first device to the second one?
oh, that's interesting. I don't think I've experienced that.
Hmm.
Okay, I would like to know more about the situation. Um, maybe your devices are smarter than mine. So yeah, sorry, I can't be helpful about that.
Well,
Um,
perhaps we'll pick that up offline,
mm,
Miranda, and get more details. See how it goes. It's between an iPad and an iPhone.
ah,
Ah, there you go.
all right. Um, I would assume therefore that if I've logged on in one and I have made the decision that I believe this is safe, then that's going to be your account information replicating between those devices. So I would
Yeah.
take it that therefore I'm making the same decision. I believe that this is safe. However, I'm a person. My attitude is if I don't need to connect, I'm not going to.
Yeah, good call.
So I'd ask myself that question, now my phone wants to connect. Why? Am I getting my email over the cell phone network? Then I don't need to connect it to the Wi-Fi.
Good call. Good call. Thank you. And just one more question. Scott was asking, are there any countries recommended not to take work devices or access information when traveling? So this is an interesting one. So my former roles were with Equifax, which is a global risk organization, credit bureau, and we were absolutely not able to take any of our devices into mainland China. I formerly had worked for IBM and Hewlett Packard, and both those organizations had safe and unsafe countries. That it meant that you were able to, or you were absolutely unable to take those devices into those countries. Um, and so I suppose the answer would be it's very much around the policies of your own organization. But from a high level threat perspective, what would you say would be the most high risk geographies, Bill?
Oh, hey, look, first of all, I say it's a difficult question to answer because I have a dear friend. He got a company here in Auckland, and they import massive amount of stuff from China and Indonesia, and he's got to go to those places, and he's got to work when he's there.
Yeah.
If he wasn't doing that, the business wouldn't function. Um, I think the From a security point of view, my first concern would probably be what the crime levels are like in the country, because I worry first of all about theft of the device. So if I was going to somewhere that I was really worried that I could be a victim of a physical crime, then I would assume that I'm also going to have an increased likelihood of a cyber crime when I'm there.
Yeah.
So anywhere where you're being told stay in your room, don't walk around the streets,
Yeah.
um, and uh, and then the next thing I'd be looking for is anywhere where the country itself actually would place some constraints on my physical freedom to walk around.
Mm.
So if I was North Korea, for example, um, hopefully not too many of those countries around these days, although I'm thinking of others as I stand here, then I would go, actually, I can't trust that country at all.
That's good call, Bill. Thank you. Hey, look, that's the end of
Chris.
our questions, and unfortunately, that's the end of our time. Thank you for that informative session, Bill, and we look forward to seeing you at our next one. Thanks for joining.
Bye.